Thank you, everyone. Apologies for being 5 minutes late. We're just waiting on some tech issues on the YouTube. But please note this will be a live broadcast meeting and will be available to view on the Combat Authority YouTube channel. And just please ensure, particularly in this room, using your microphones when speaking. First and foremost, welcome Councillor Bob Webb to his first meeting since becoming Deputy Leader of City of York Council. So welcome, Bob. Item 1, apologies for absence. Elizabeth, has been any apologies? No apologies. Thank you. Item 2 was the minutes of the meeting held on the 5th of June 2026. Minutes can be found on page 5 of the agenda pack. Are members happy with the minutes from that meeting? Nods of approval. Calgar, nods. Yep. You were present, yeah. But all fine, done. Yeah, thank you very much. Item 3 is declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest from anyone here today? No. Okay, thank you. Item 4 then is public questions and statements. We've received 3 members of the public wishing to speak today. So speakers, you have 3 minutes to which to read out your statement. First of all, Councillor Malcolm Taylor, if you'd like to come on down. Thank you, Councillor, in your own time.
Thank you and good morning. I'm here speaking this morning as the North Yorkshire Councillor for the Hubie and Tollerton division, which includes the village of Linton on Ouse. I don't think it'll be any surprise to anybody in this room what I'm going to speak about, given the media attention that we've had over the last week or so since the announcement that the base was under consideration again to be used as an asylum centre. That news, when it broke, unfortunately, it sort of kind of leaked out into the community, which was a little bit difficult to manage for us on the ground. A similar proposal back in 2022 was not implemented due to technical reasons around infrastructure, along with policing, safeguarding, community safety concerns, with housing circa 1,200 single males in a village with a population of about 700. It's caused widespread anxiety and stress, as you can imagine, within the community. And I know there's a member of the Linton on Ouse Action Group who's going to address you after me, so I won't dwell on some of the comments that they will make. But I did submit 3 questions, and I have advised your team that I may have an additional one if that's okay with you this morning. Basically, the technical reasons are as strong today, if not stronger, than in 2022. I have seen your statement that you put out to the media, which I very much welcome, and I have made that public that I welcome that statement. So thank you for that. Basically, we'd just like to hear a little bit about what is your position regarding the proposal. Do you believe it's an appropriate site? And more specifically, the Combined Authority has put the site forward in the North Yorkshire local plan for housing. In view of that, were you consulted about these proposals, and what is your position regarding your ambitions to provide housing on site? So I think you've got advance notice of those questions. Shall I put the additional one now, or do you want to take them?
You like?
Yeah, I mean, it's been widely reported in the media late last night and this morning that the Home Secretary has passed comment about the appropriateness of having migrant or asylum centres in the vicinity of schools. Now, obviously, Linton on Ouse Primary School is virtually on the wire, or the former wire, of the RAF base. So that is a development really that's broke in the last 24 hours, which is quite significant in the unsuitability of the site at Linton. So I'd just be interested in your observations and comments on there. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much for your comment, Councillor. Yeah, as I've been clear in my statement that I issued yesterday, I don't believe the site is right. It should be used for homes, not to house asylum seekers. And thank you for raising the point that I pushed this site forward for housing ever since I've been in post the last 2 years. This site could unlock so many opportunities for housing for local residents, and it's a shame, I would say, that the 6 years previously since it's closed, there hasn't been enough progress on that since 2020. I'd be interested to know in the wider what North Yorkshire Council pushed forward from 2020 and since actually in 2022 when it was muted last time, that it could have been a site. I'm aware of the Home Office statement that the new build housing will not be used for asylum seekers and that asylum seekers should not be housed near schools or nurseries. My understanding is that specific details on that will be clarified by the Home Office in due course, so we are waiting for those further details on that as well. But when we have those, obviously, I'll share those with you as well, Councillor Taylor. Thank you very much. Next, Martin Sanderson on behalf of the Linton On News Action Group. Martin, once again, just use your microphone. You've got 3 minutes. Thank you, Martin. Your own time.
Firstly, just some thanks with regard to the statements that were issued yesterday and the speed that discussions are coming forward with Linton On News. The commitment and speed that you've all shown and the solidarity just reflects how much this isn't just going to impact on Linton and Newton, but on the whole region. In 2022, Linton Action Group led a positive campaign. Alongside local and national partners, we proved that this was the wrong plan in the wrong place. After wasting £22.9 million, the Home Office abandoned its plans due to numerous technical unworkable issues and being unable to secure sufficient staffing. The current plans are vague, but are functionally identical to the plans that failed in 22. The Home Office is proposing upward of 3,750 asylum-seeking men spread across 3 sites. They've quoted an 80-day turnaround, so that equates to roughly 5,700 individuals passing through a village like Linton every single year. These plans have been criticised by all parties. The current Prime Minister in 22 described them as chaotic and behind the curve, and these plans have not changed. But what has changed in Linton since 22 is that as a community, we've fought to grow and recover from the closure of an RAF base. We've encouraged, with your support, commercial and residential uses for this site. We've welcomed the camp and surrounding areas into consultation for local plan, and we have secured the delivery of 166 new homes, bringing young families back into our community. Our village pub has reopened, our shop has prospective buyers, our school is moving to a more sustainable footing. But this development is already threatening that recovery. The new neighbourhoods have moved the edge of our village right up to the camp gates. More so than before, this is not an asylum centre on an isolated RAF base. This is an asylum centre nested deeply with a thriving, developing village. The impact is immediate. We've already got families who had secured school places rescinding contracts to move in on new neighbourhoods. Linton On News is still materially different from any site the Home Office currently uses or proposes. It is the only site where less than 4 years ago, joint assessments by Home Office, MOD, police, fire service, local authority and health concluded that the plan was unworkable. And this is where it becomes a region-wide issue. Our local infrastructure and resources cannot be called upon to deal with the impact of an already ill-fated plan. The resulting strain will drain our resources from the entire county system. Linton's limited resources and infrastructure will be pulled away from supporting continued development of our region toward a plan imposed by the Home Office. We ask you to recognise that a failure here becomes a burden for the whole region and help us to stop working on this plan before millions more are wasted.
Thank you very much, Martin, and members of the Linton News Action Group as well. And as I said to Councillor Taylor as well, I published a statement yesterday setting out clearly my position and that of my Deputy Mayor for Police and Fire and Crime as well, Joe Coles. We hear clearly Linton News should be used, as I said, for housing, not to house asylum seekers. And this is what we're pursuing with the Ministry of Defence and North Yorkshire Council since I was elected. I believe there's been ample time since 2020, since the site became empty, and since the last proposal 2022 to push forward. And even in an article in October 2025, it was reported again in the media. As I say, I stand by that clearly, that we'll be presenting this to government as well. The need for housing in our region, the development, as you've already touched on there, so much positivity has been happening in Linton on news recently, and the opportunity to really develop that site to meet the housing requirements of our region are absolutely imperative. So thank you once again for your time and all the work you've done, Martin. Thank you very much. And finally, Hazel Peacock, who's, oh no, you're not here on Teams, you're here in flesh, don't worry about that. Hazel, again, you have 3 minutes in your own time and you can use the microphone as well. And you've got props. In your own time, Hazel. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair and Mayor. I'm here to request your urgent intervention and safeguarding of the School Street scheme on Beechwood Grove at Oaklands Junior School in Harrogate. The future of the operation is under threat due to ongoing challenges with the delivery of automatic number plate recognition, ANPR, by North Yorkshire Council. Now 18 months overdue, no date for installation. At this very meeting in April, when record investment in road safety and active travel was announced for the region, we highlighted the benefits of this trailblazing scheme. Its transformative impact to the safety of 360 school children at Oaklands Junior School, benefits to health, active travel and community cohesion, including significant mode shift, enabling initiatives like the Oaklands Bike Bus, and contributing to over 90% of children walking, wheeling or cycling to school. The first of its kind in North Yorkshire, the School Street scheme transformed a hostile and dangerous cul-de-sac into a haven, benefiting school children, parents, carers and residents. With no progress on ANPR and with school leaders and volunteers no longer able to sustain daily barrier cover after 2.5 years, the street is sadly becoming unsafe again. A minority of parents are now driving down the cul-de-sac at drop-off and pick-up times, meaning children from preschoolers to 11-year-olds are now mixing on foot, bikes and scooters with cars, many of which are SUVs, in what was a safe space for them outside the school. ANPR was committed by North Yorkshire Council as a sustainable solution for enforcement from the outset, promised following highways approvals for local authorities coming into effect from November 2023. No reminder is needed as to how perilous Beechwood Grove cul-de-sac was prior to the scheme, as you can see in the photo, and of the collision in January 2023 involving several vehicles, which resulted in significant injury and hospitalisation of a school pupil. The photos show the hostile road situation outside the school prior to the scheme are shocking. In spring 2025, ANPR installation was promised following a 6-month trial at a site at Selby starting that summer. 1 year on, North Yorkshire Council advised the ANPR trial is planned for this summer but cannot give a date. This is deeply concerning for the school and the local community, and everyone is beginning to feel very let down. We understand there is now debate on if the trial site will be in Selby or possibly Harrogate Town Centre. With over 360 primary age children at Oaklands Junior School and with other vulnerable road users like preschoolers and children at the nearby infant school dropping off their siblings, pregnant women and older people using the space to drop off and collect their children and grandchildren, we are urging you and North Yorkshire to prioritise Beechwood Grove School Street as the ANPR trial location and to protect children from this escalating risk. We also invite you all to contemplate the impacts of this delay and consider how you would feel if young people in your lives, like your children or grandchildren, were being exposed to this risk from vehicles every school day and the collapse of a thriving scheme due to ongoing inaction. Our children and community deserve safety and safe spaces. Your urgent intervention is needed with ANPR as originally planned and as it's currently used at hundreds of other school street sites across the UK to ensure the future success of this first school street and all those planned in North Yorkshire and across the combined authority region. Thank you.
Thank you for your question and comments again, Hazel, and thank you for the work you've done to in the Harrogate area as well to make the school street safer. I know there are so many more schools that want to replicate what you've done there, and I hope that they will find it much easier to achieve than what you have done so far. And that's one of the reasons why I created the Mayor's Active Travel Fund to prioritise safer streets and create an environment where they are safe for everyone. It's really disappointing, despite promises there's not been greater progress on this. As more schools begin school streets across the region, it would be a great shame if the county isn't. If the county wasn't the first allowed to come on this way as well. I've been in contact with my Active Travel Commissioner as well, and that she has made representation to North Yorkshire Council following this as well already. And ultimately, it is a matter for North Yorkshire Council as the Highway Authority, and I would join my Active Travel Commissioner in calling for this scheme to be made a priority. And Councillor Taylor is the exec member responsible, and I'm sure that he may be happy to talk with you about this today as he sat behind you currently. Thank you very much, Hazel. Thank you all for your questions this morning. Thank you all. Item 5 is the Mayor's update. Safe to say it's been a pretty busy month. This month marked Men's Health Week, which I'm deeply committed to improving the physical and mental health of men across the county. I welcome Travis and Nathan from November. They came all the way from Australia, which was a great opportunity to take them to one of the men's sheds in Hull Road Park, which they were blown away by. While we're here in the UK, they announced the first of 3 global men's health institutions will be based at the University of York, led by Professor Paul Gowdas, the UK's only men's mental health professor. This is a huge achievement for our county and puts us on the global stage for researching and taking action on improving men's health and well-being. I travelled to Sheffield to join the Northern Mayors, Olympians and Paralympians to set out the bid to host the Olympics and Paralympics here in the North of England in the 2040s. We know from London just how impactful this has been for regeneration, host towns and cities, and the knock-on investment and infrastructure in the wider area. I joined people from across the county at Ripon Cathedral, who hosted a rural housing conference. Everyone there was very much unified and wanted to keep our rural communities alive. That means building the right homes in the right places and making sure that they are priorities for the people who live here. I know that talking about rural housing, which we shall do later on in the meeting as well, can be aggravating to some people, but I'm clear that if we don't build homes in every rural community in this county, they will die. New homes bring new facilities who support schools, shops, pubs, post offices, and we've seen many communities across the UK where this injection of new residents can really help to reopen those important facilities. I ran in my first Knaresborough bed race alongside the staff from the Combined Authority. We finished in 21:33. If I could swim, we'd have probably done it in under 20 minutes, so I need to learn to swim. It was announced this month that I have been appointed as an advisor to the Active Travel England Board, alongside my male colleague Helen Godwin, helping them to understand the important roles that mayors play in delivering a step change in how people move around their areas. In areas like ours, where the second most popular form of transport is walking, it's more important than ever that the national organisations get a clear message from regional leaders like ours. I attended the first White Rose Rail Board, chaired by Lord David Blunkett, alongside mayors from South and West Yorkshire and the Rail Minister, Lord Hendy. We launched a new fund to support improving access to cash and banking across the county, which has been really well received. Really looking forward to seeing how that comes forward. Also looking forward to the tour of Britain, the route for which was announced earlier this week, departing from Helmsley and working its way across our beautiful county to Leyburn. This is going to be a really exciting opportunity for the towns and villages along the route, and I'm excited to announce that we'll also be providing funding to any of those towns and villages who want to help decorate and celebrate what is sure to be a great day. I've been asked if I do want to cycle the route myself, which I have kindly declined. Finally, we saw the publication of reports from North Yorkshire Local Resilience Forum and North Yorkshire Fire and Rescue Service on the Filingdales Moor fire. The response from firefighters, firemen and landowners, volunteers and local communities was outstanding in that situation, but we cannot rely on goodwill alone. At the risk of wildfires growing, so too must our preparedness for them. Lessons from this incident are clear. We need stronger resilience and better coordination and a more robust approach to preventing, responding to and recovering from major wildfires. Do members have any questions or comments? No. Councillor Leslie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nothing on what you just said as part of your mayor's report. Could I just go back to public questions and just make it clear that when a public question comes in, it could be shared if it's concerning a council that is part of the combined authority, because the issue about ANPR in Harrogate is the first time I've heard of it today. I've expected, I would have hoped that the people who are complaining about it might have actually contacted the council first, so that we could have addressed that issue, even if it's only to give them a answer as to why it isn't going to happen in the timescale that was indicated. So it would just be helpful. I mean, I don't know when Hayes sent the question in. It might have been only yesterday. It might have been a week ago. It might have been a month ago, in which case we would have had some time to actually get onto the case.
The correspondence was addressed to me as the mayor. I think it did come in this week, but I'm sure in time we can share wider correspondence. But it is, as I say, those questions, all the questions were addressed to me as the mayor. Gareth, did you indicate as well? Gareth?
Yeah, just on the back of that, there's clearly an issue or a perceived issue. I don't know which because I'm not close to the issue, but with all due respect, Mr. Mayor, this was an issue for North Yorkshire Council. And I think it would have been courteous, to say the least, once we've received, by we, I mean the combined authority had received that question, that perhaps a response could have been sought from North Yorkshire Council, because there may well be reasons, I don't know, why this hasn't progressed at the rate it could. In a similar vein, we've had some questions on Linton-on-Ouse, and can I just speak very briefly to that, because I have one or two concerns as a result of something I've just seen. Do you mind? First of all, can I say I'm pleased with the statement that you issued yesterday, because this should never ever be a party political football or a to and fro between any political party. I think we can all unite around the fact that Linton-on-Ouse was and still remains one of the most inappropriate locations to house asylum seekers. I think that's a given. What I am concerned about is a letter that I've seen on the website published by your deputy there, and it was published 24th of June. I've just become aware of it, where the statements made that failures by North Yorkshire Council to finalise a local plan. Well, given Councillor Coles in her time was a member of York City Council, she should be aware of the years it takes to finalise a local plan. We've only been in existence since 2022. Hambleton had one that was formulated some years before where Linton exists. You can't just magic allocations of land. So let's be clear about that. So I'm disappointed with that. I'm also disappointed to read that obstruction of separate proposals from the mayor to make this site part of a mayoral development zone. I was never aware that there's been a formal approach to North Yorkshire Council to designate Linton-on-Ouse a separate mayoral development zone. It may well be the right thing to do, but I wasn't aware that you've made an approach. You might not be aware that you've made an approach. Who knows? And then finally, further down the letter, she also goes on to say, and I repeat, do however need urgent assurances that the proposal for Linton-on-Ouse will be strictly time limited. I think we can all unite in saying it shouldn't be done in the first place. Never, you know, if it's fit for a week or a year, it's fit for in perpetuity. Some will say we should fight its very existence as an asylum, a place of to house asylum seekers. So that letter, frankly, I wouldn't expect you to comment on the content today, but I think that a published response to what I've raised would be helpful. Secondly, I think that the language and words used by the deputy mayor is certainly not helpful to the cause that we're all fighting against in Linton-on-Ouse.
Thank you for your comments, Councillor Dadd. What I was just come back to is that the opportunity here to develop this site is key, particularly for housing, and supporting Joe on pressing for the need to develop this site. And if it's been empty since 2020, like it has been, there has been opportunity and time. to bring a plan forward to what that site could be used for. I think that's the opportunity that I've tried to push forward for the last 2 years, and there has been a further 4 years prior to that to develop this site, because a site like that is key and it can't be left empty. So I think we do need to press on with that, because if we had that, then we probably would be in this situation. Okay, item 6, new mayoral development zones for York and North Yorkshire will be a report by the Director of Economy, Andy Kerr. Thank you, Andy. New time.
So this report sets out a significant step forward in unlocking major regeneration opportunities across the region, with the proposal today to create 3 mayoral development zones. The Mayor is committed to using the full powers of devolution to accelerate development and regeneration in York and North Yorkshire. And one of the key tools that can help achieve these are mayoral development zones, or MDZs. MDZs allow mayors to target specific areas for focus regeneration and growth. They allow collaboration across all delivery partners within a unified geography, unlocking development opportunities, attracting private investment, and aligning public sector funding. Crucially, they also signal to central government that they are a mayoral priority area within a region to drive transformational development. It's proposed today that we create 3 MDZs at this stage in our evolution. First of those is Scarborough, which has a clear master plan, major brownfield redevelopment opportunities, proposed leisure and tourism developments, and 1,000 new homes at Middle Deepdale. The second is Selby Grove Zone, where a significant number of large-scale redevelopment sites that form a corridor in and around Selby and have the potential to create thousands of jobs and investment into the region. Principal sites along that corridor are Gascoigne Wood, Course 62, Kellenley Colliery, Olympia Park, of course Selby Town Centre, and the Station Gateway. And finally, York Central, a nationally significant regeneration opportunity that will be the major driver of future economic growth in the region. It has a gross development value of 2.5 billion, and the completed development could deliver up to 3,000 new homes, of which 40% would be affordable, 1.4 million square feet of commercial and retail space, creating 10,000 new jobs. And it also includes a major expansion of the National Railway Museum, which is already progressing. If the principle of creating these 3 MDZs are approved today, then officers will work with both local authorities at pace to carry out the necessary process to allow them to be established. To kickstart these zones, the report proposes an initial £10 million MDZ regeneration fund and a £500,000 capacity fund, ensuring we have the resources to drive forward delivery. Governance of the zones will be collaborative, working critically with the local authorities, but with oversight from the Mayor and local delivery partners, and all funding decisions will be subject to robust business case and assurance processes. The designation of these mayoral development zones represents a bold step forward for York and North Yorkshire, targeting investment where it is needed most, fostering inclusive growth, and ensuring our communities benefit from the opportunities that devolution brings. The recommendations in the report are set out in section 2, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Andy. And these 3 new mayoral development zones are the clearest signal that we've sent today, in which we are the greatest opportunities for economic growth, new jobs, new homes, and urban regeneration in the county. These first mayoral development zones in York, North Yorkshire, are a strong initial step to unlock and coordinate that wider investment, development, improvements to daily lives of our residents. My priority is and always will be to see good growth right across the county, addressing the years of decline that too many of our communities have experienced. I won't sit back and not do anything about it, and we've got an opportunity here, a really exciting opportunity to really accelerate growth in our county. In Scarborough, we're setting up the first mayoral development zone in the country for a coastal community. It will focus on high street urban renewal, improving the visitor, but for more importantly, residents' experience of the town. Working hand in glove with North Yorkshire Council, the Neighbourhood Board, it will also coordinate and streamline housing development and job opportunities, ensuring that more people can stay, live and work in a town that they call their home. In Selby, we'll focus very much on jobs and hopefully lots of them. This zone will be stretching right across more of the former district and encompassing the coalfield sites, and will bring jobs opportunity to the wider area as well. And on York Central, it will act as that convenient point of space for this huge range of partners to come together to address our shared challenges. Together, York Central is the largest inner city brownfield development in Western Europe. it's incumbent on us to make sure that this is totally transformational and development, doesn't leave residents behind, giving them the new homes, jobs and opportunities that we all want to see. These are by clearly the greatest opportunities we have to transform York and North Yorkshire for the residents and businesses we serve. I think it's just a really exciting opportunity for the patch. Thank you, Andy, and thank you to officers on both sides of the boat who've put a lot of work in this so far. There's always more to do in this as well. Any questions or comments for Andy on this? Ed, you want to come in, and then Carl? Oh.
Carl? Okay, thank you. I'm very happy to support these recommendations, even propose them. But can I just make a plea about the Scarborough one? And we keep referring to the High Street, etc. The work that has been done in Scarborough to identify what the economic opportunities are. You know, it's called station to shore, and we've got to reflect that it's not just the High Street. It actually goes all the way down to the harbour and includes the harbour and the maritime activity as well.
Absolutely, yeah, and obviously, as one of the recommendations in the paper will be to draw that red line with leader of York or North Yorkshire, depending on which. Obviously in York it will be with Claire, and obviously Carl will be yourself in Scarborough and Selby. So along with yourself and officers, we can make sure that we encompass all that piece of work as well, because the harbour area of Scarborough is obviously equally as important than the town centre and regeneration there as well. Councillor Douglas.
Thank you, Mayor, and I really welcome the opportunity to draw further attention to York Central, and I'm happy to support the recommendations both for York and for North Yorkshire too. There is already an awful lot of collective work and action on York Central, and as you've outlined, it is one of the largest brownfield development sites in the country. And it is really important that we continue to draw attention to our priority economic and homes growth sites, and the Merrill Development Zone is one of these methods of doing that. And the more rapidly that we can build confidence for investors and government that we are delivering and we're getting on with it and we are showing those benefits for our local residents, better in my view. So if this can add to that, I'm very supportive, and I hope to see equal progress in North Yorkshire as we're currently seeing in York. So thank you for your work on this.
Thank you, Councillor Douglas. Would I come in there?
Thank you, and I'm just going to refer back to the statement I made earlier, and I'm very sorry not to have raised this prior, but it has been, very late evidence in front of us. Me seeing the letter from your deputy, and I'll just read again.
We have moved on from that.
It's relevant to this because I'm going to move an amendment to these recommendations, Mr. Mayor. If I could just speak the background to it first, which I'm entitled to back up. The Mayor to make separate proposals from the Mayor to make this site part of a mayoral development zone. We've got 3 on the table in front of us. I am fully supportive of that. I perhaps suggest that as things develop, we may have the ability to move a little bit further and to gear those up and provide some pace into developing those sites. Fully supportive of all 3. But given what's being put in a public facing letter by the Deputy Mayor, surely this is the opportunity for us to put Lintnor News as a mayoral development zone. If what she has written is correct, that you've sought to do that previously, can we have a 4th site in here, certainly in principle to be included, i.e. Lintnor News? Either she's correct and we've got the opportunity to do it, or she isn't correct and you will clarify that.
So what is the proposal? So Elizabeth could note it.
That there's a 4th site, Lintnor News, the red lines to be agreed between the leader and yourself.
I'd say in this current situation, we probably can't move on that right now. We need to take further advice from probably chief exec and head of director of conduct on how we move that as well.
Can I ask for clarification as to why not, given it's been stated that you've sought to do this separately previously, or have you not sought to do it separately previously, Mr. Mayor?
Councillor Bob.
Thank you. Thank you for the welcome, Mayor, and it's already going well, I can see. Yeah, so I think what I'd say on this is I personally wouldn't feel comfortable about voting to add a fourth site without any written sort of clarifications to what that would include, what it wouldn't include. And there's been an awful lot of work gone into the first three that we're talking about here, and they really are, as the Mayor outlined earlier on, to support jobs, economy, homes, and ultimately the local residents in those respective communities. And that's a fantastic thing. I'm not saying that what you're suggesting might not be something to look at in the future, and that could be the very near future. But I don't think today it would be appropriate without having sight of all the evidence and all the work gone in. I don't think it's a little premature for me.
We'll take a 5-minute adjournment so we can discuss this wider. Thank you, everyone. we've had an amendment has been moved and seconded. So Rachel, if you could just read that out for me.
So the amendment, I suppose we've agreed what, whether it's supported or not, but open quotation marks, that there is a further site at Linton on Ouse that will be a mayoral development. So not part of close, but close the brackets, so to speak, in line, and this is the reasoning for it, in line with what the Deputy Mayor has suggested, the Mayor has proposed previously in her letter of June.
Sorry, I just need a bit of clarification because the paper that we're looking at is proposals for mayoral development zones. It is not to actually create them today. So I'm not sure that the amendment is in line with what we are actually looking at. I would have thought that what you're actually asking us to do, Councillor Dadd, is to consider Linton on Ouse as a mayoral development zone in the same manner as the others in the paper are. That wasn't quite what you said, so that's why I'm just asking for some clarification, please.
If that's your amendment, Councillor Dadd. Yep.
And I think we're dealing with semantics here. What I actually want is for a fourth site to be considered, or I should say proposed from this combined authority on the same terms and in the same nature as the previous three sites were. If the wording that I've given doesn't reflect that, then I'm willing for the legal officer to change it slightly. But I think that, you know, it's accepted that I want to propose Linton on Ouse as a fourth site in line with the other three. I think it's pretty clear.
Okay, so that's your amendments. That's moved, seconded. Would anyone like to discuss that further? Andy Kerr,
just to clarify, the word in the report is to improve in principle the designation of Scarborough's Selby Grove corridor in York Central's mayoral development zones. So the improve in principle is on Councillor Dadd's.
Okay, thank you. Just to, would you like to come in there, Councillor Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. This, I mean, as we've just seen from trying to work out what the wording actually says, this amendment is policy on the hoof, really, isn't it? And I said just before our brief adjournment, I don't feel that comfortable. So much work has gone into the other three sites we've been talking about, Scarborough and Selby and York Central, that I don't feel comfortable with this amendment. And what I don't want to do is inadvertently damage the prospects of the villagers, the residents of Linton on Ouse by forcing something on them, but we actually haven't thought this thing through properly. And as well as that, we don't want to dilute what is a great piece of work, bringing jobs, economy and homes to Selby and Scarborough, and of course, you know, further securing support for jobs and homes in York Central. So, you know, this amendment here, it's a proposal for a community, and it might be well that it is appropriate to do so. It might be something that would be positive if it's done properly. But of course, there will be other sites where it might be appropriate to do this as well. And we don't want to just jump in, essentially because we've had something brought to us very last minute and do it for one site and not properly consider all the sites that we need to think about. And I think what my view would be, and what I would like to see, is that actually we go back and look at this properly and think, well, what is our second tranche of MDZs? And is it appropriate to have a second tranche of MDZs? Because we do not want to dilute. Remember, the whole point of this is to flag to government where we should invest. If we just tell them to invest everywhere, well, that's not flagging things, is it? So let's instruct officers to get on with consulting on these areas and doing what they have to do. Let's give them the political push that maybe they've not had to look at these other zones and make sure that this is the best possible piece of work for our residents rather than just a political statement. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bob. So I'll be voting against it for two reasons. One, we have a rigorous process to get these meetings, and at no point was I notified in advance of this amendment. I don't think that it's an appropriate way to work, and I've been very clear that we have to be doing that better. And each of these three proposed MDZs have had significant engagement and work done to bring them to this point. And I've always been open and clear for MDZs on MOD sites, and I continue to be. However, I want to see the Linton-on-Ouse included potentially in a wider, broader MOD site as an MDZ, and that is a proposal that I will ask officers to continue to work up and produce with North Yorkshire Council and the MOD in time. So we've had a proposer and a seconder, so we can. Right. Okay.
Yeah. Suppose this will be my response to the debate. I do find it a little bit uncomfortable when we talk about no notice being given. I, rightly or wrongly, became aware of the Deputy Mayor's letter suggesting that you'd suggested, Mr. Mayor, that Linton-on-Ouse should have its own or be part of an MDZ previously, and it has been, and I quote, obstructed by North Yorkshire Council. That may or may not have happened at officer level. I certainly wasn't aware of it. There may well be justifiable reasons for it not making the grade as an MDZ. But if what the Deputy Mayor has stated is true, and you've said nothing to the contrary, you, Mr. Mayor, was proposing this as an MDZ in its own right. Either you were or you weren't. Either the Deputy Mayor's correct or she is incorrect. Published in a letter, public facing, that I've just become aware of. Either work has been done and evidence against it standing as an MDZ, or it hasn't. But I think from what you've said, that you are prepared to come back as soon as possible. And, I'd very much like to hear that assurance. I'm still pressing on with the amendment. But I think you can make it very clear that you can do two things. First of all, you can look at the issues raised by the Deputy Mayor in her letter, sanctioned or not by yourself, and you can clarify that today, that you sanctioned the letter or you didn't. You can look at the issues raised, and secondly, you give an assurance, which I think you've already given, that we will look at Linton-on-Ouse seriously as an MDZ or means of progressing its inclusion in one and developing the site so that it's locked down against future possible use for asylum seekers.
Thank you for your points. It's not appropriate, I don't think, to get into the wider letter in this form currently, but Joe does have my full support. And as I've said, we will take away with officers the opportunity around Linton going forward, which I proposed that we would come back most likely at the September Combined Authority meeting. So proposed seconder, all those in favour of the vote of the amendment put forward by Councillor Dad? All those again? Thank you. And then the wider recommendations on page 28 of the agenda pack. Do we have a proposal for those? Seconder?
Seconded.
And all those in favour? Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Andy, for that. Item 7 is the local growth fund allocation. The report from Director Andy and by Andrew Lehman to come forward. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Chair. So the purpose of this report is primarily to set out the revenue allocations for remaining of the local growth fund. But just a bit of background, we were awarded £40 million from government towards developing further growth initiatives through our local growth plan. And at the last meeting, we provided a delivery plan setting out how we would deliver on the local growth plan. This 40 million was split between 18 million of revenue and 22 million of capital. And that was profiled over the next 4 years as set out in paragraph 3.2 in the table. So to unlock this investment, the combined authority were required to set out an investment framework, setting out the key objectives and outcomes of the fund. This was agreed by the CA and has now been agreed with government. This therefore now forms the basis of how the local growth fund will be allocated and the outcomes to be achieved. So the investment framework was aligned the funding to the agreed local growth plan and its delivery plan that we'd previously agreed at this cabinet. And this looked at 5 key objectives, and these are set out in 3.3. One around the competitive advantage sectors, one around key employment sectors, accelerating commercial and housing development, skills and inclusive principles. So the proposed allocations in the report. So far, just to provide a little bit of background, the combined authority have agreed at previous meetings £10.85 million of revenue from the local growth fund, and those details are set out in the report. And so this leaves a further 6.7 million of revenue that this report sets out in its recommendations to allocate, and that's 3.5 million to support the competitive edge sectors and businesses, £1 million revenue to support accelerating commercial and housing development, 0.9 million for skills development, and then a further up to 1.6 million, which is a 4% to ensure that full management and administration of a fund takes place. The other recommendation does refer to capital funding, but in that proposal will be brought back to future meetings to determine. And also there is a link into the mayoral development zone paper which sets out some recommendations which you've just agreed to allocate some local growth funding to the MDZs. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, so obviously I secured that £40 million local growth fund, and obviously it's about prioritising and make sure our businesses are supported, invested in our key growth sectors, and looking more opportunities for growth and improved living standards right across the county. Partnership and collaborative work has been great on this, and the heart of producing and refining the local growth plan. So thank you to yourself, Andrew, and officers in both authorities as well. They've been working on that, and that's why particularly the public sector, private and academia and the community sector, we have moved forward in its funding and really put it in a good place. And the partnership has made sure this plan was right, and it's time to crack on and really get that money out the door. So thank you, Andrew, and your team for the work on this. Do members have comments or questions for Andrew on this? That's good. Councillor Douglas.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to add my thanks, and also I'm really very happy to see this coming through. It's really important that we get on and invest in our local growth plan and see that economic development coming forward for the benefit of residents across York and North Yorkshire. And this is a great start, and I look forward to seeing more detail on how it's going to be used over the coming months. But thank you for everything that's been done so far.
Thank you, Councillor. Any more comments or questions? We're happy to move to the recommendations on page 39 of the agenda pack. All those
Propose
it.
Propose.
Seconder, and all those in favour? Thank you very much. Thank you, Andrew. Item 8 is the Rural Action Plan. Andrew Lehman, once again, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So this report sets out and seeks approval of the Mayor's Rural Action Plan. The plan itself is built on the original Rural Commission that was set up by North Yorkshire Council back in 2021, which started to look at some of the challenges and opportunities that need to be addressed so that we can strengthen our rural communities. It builds on this work, but it also builds on a lot of the work that's already undertaken and how combined authorities work can support rural communities to seek opportunities, unlock barriers, especially issues relating to accessibility, connectivity and affordability. So it provides an ambition highlighting the place-based approach already embedded across the local growth plan, the housing growth strategy, the Get York and North Yorkshire working plan, and the sustainable future strategy and other plans that have been in development. It's been brought together with partner input and engagement from those originally involved in the Royal Commission, plus local authorities, national park authorities, and with advice from our Grow Yorkshire Advisory Board and the Business Board. We also presented this to OV and Scrutiny a few weeks back to get their response to it. So the plan itself sets out an ambition around our rural communities that will be places of ambition, not afterthoughts, where people can afford to put down roots, find good work close to home, and leave their children a future worth choosing. And within that context, set out a series of 3 priorities. Around rural communities where people can afford to live and building a future in, which starts to highlight housing affordability, improving digital connectivity, certainly piloting transport solutions and increased energy independence. Second priority was around rural communities that are safe, healthy and full of opportunity. So this very much links into our local growth plan and developing a rural economy, improving sustainability and resilience, investing in market towns, developing skills, reviewing rural healthcare provision, police, crime and fire service provision. And then finally, rural communities have a real voice in the decisions that shape them. And this is very much around our push for York and North Yorkshire to be very much a rural trailblazer, but also that as we develop programmes, we do this through the lens of rural communities. The report of the Rural Action Plan was attached to the report. We were hoping that if approved today, we would be launching this at the Great Yorkshire Show in a couple of weeks' time. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. And now for the Devolution Act. Sets out the first time a duty on all combined authorities to account for rural and coastal affairs. I feel like we've been doing that from the very beginning, but really leading the way in space far and above any other in England. Rural communities have, I feel, been let down and left behind by successive governments of all parties, frankly, and that will not be the case as long as I'm here. We're supporting our farmers and we're setting out a plan to be bold, ambitious plan for our rural communities across the country. That means we have to be ambitious to build the homes that rural communities need to survive. We have to be ambitious about the job opportunities, and we have to be ambitious about how we connect those communities to each other. It doesn't mean we destroy the character of those places, but help to make sure that things work for rural life and to make sure that we can unpick a lot of the challenges being caused over the last few decades. As Mayor, I will not sit back and do nothing, and I want to be ambitious, and that's why we put this piece of work together. And thank you, Andrew, and again, officers at both sides, and we look forward to presenting it at the Great Yorkshire Show in 2 weeks, I think it's. Any members have questions or comments on this? Do we have a proposer? And a seconder?
Seconded.
And all those in favour? Thank you. Thank you, Andrew. Item 9 is community wealth building. Andy Kerr to present on this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. So this report sets out a summary of the findings on the opportunities for community wealth building for York and North Yorkshire in the context of a commitment to an inclusive economic growth and thriving communities. It outlines the findings and recommendation of the Mayor's Community Wealth Building Commission. Firstly, just a big thank you to everyone who took part in that commission. It was established in September 2025 and it was chaired by Sam Leach, who is a member of our business board. And it brought together experts from the voluntary sector, academia and trade unions. Their task was to explore how community wealth building principles could be tailored to our region's unique needs. Community wealth building is an approach to local economic development, and it aims to keep wealth circulating within a community rather than flowing out to external corporations or investors. It is focused on increasing local ownership, creating good jobs, using the spend and investment power of large local institutions to benefit local people. So the work of the Commission resulted in 16 recommendations focusing on embedding these principles in our economic strategies. The report asks the combined authority to note these findings, and the next step will be to explore a targeted number of the recommendations to take forward, underpinned by the creation of a £500,000 community wealth building fund from mayoral investment funding. The fund will support the development of a robust implementation plan, pilot activities, and the formation of a regional operational group to ensure best practices are shared and progress is monitored. So in summary, this report sets out the opportunities for making our local economy more inclusive, resilient and beneficial for all. The recommendations are there to endorse the principle of community wealth building to note the recommendations from the Commission's report, which will be taken for the targeted amount with 500k of
Thank you, Andy, and to Claire Robinson as well, who I don't be here today, but the amount of work that she's done on it as well. And as you've touched on, Andy, there already, to the Commission in particular, Sam Leach for chairing, who's been a huge help in this, and Claire's for their wide support in producing this report as well. And the recommendations set out a combination of realistic and achievable suggestions alongside some bigger visionary ambition and ideas to transform the local economies of York and North Yorkshire. Community wealth building is a fairly overarching term, sorry, but for me, it's things that sit within keeping more money in the local economy, improving working conditions, greater community ownership of assets, cooperative ownership of infrastructure, the services that our residents rely on a day-to-day. These things will help to achieve good growth that empowers people and gives them greater stake in the things that matter to them in their lives. And I think it's a great opportunity to really explore what community wealth building could do for an area like ours. So big thank you to everyone who's been heavily involved in this piece of work. Any comments or questions on this at all? Bob Webb, Councillor.
Just call me Bob, it's fine. Thank you, Mayor. Obviously, this is my first meeting. I'm taking over from Councillor Kilbane in York. My predecessor was really committed to community wealth building, and for very, very good reason. This is something that really builds focus on supporting local communities. Importantly, it can develop and support those local small enterprises, and also, if you're the ones starting out in those local small enterprises, it's often younger populations that are supported by this. In areas that are, as we know, very expensive to live, to thrive and to work, having any support for that local population is always important. Community wealth building, as you've said, brings that money back into a community. One of the aspects, for example, is how you operate your pensions fund. It's of course protected for its members, but what happens to that money and where is it spent? Is it spent in some far flung off place, or is it spent here in York and North Yorkshire and used specifically for the community that we serve? And also, let's note that those younger members of this community that often increasingly cannot afford pensions themselves, and that is because the money is not being spent locally. Where this has been done effectively, it's worked really well, where you've taken money that would have been spent on a national scale and brought it down to a much more local level. You've had a big impact on communities. So this is the right step in the right direction. We need to support it because it brings local democratic support to those communities, and the local voice is key. So it's a positive thing, and I'm happy to propose and support it.
Thank you for your support on that, Councillor Webb. Recommendations can be found on page 58 of the agenda pack. Do we have a proposer? Oh, sorry, Councillor, sorry.
Sorry, I don't want to speak against it. Bob's been very eloquent in his support of it. I almost missed how we're going to monitor it. And it's just a little line in 7.5. And these are updates and progress made will be reported to us at future. How are we going to monitor it? What sort of reports are we going to receive so that we actually know that it's achieving the aspirations that we have for it?
Yeah, so what we sought to do is basically take the Commission's report and then start to look through where the opportunities are. That's why we're looking to create that 500k fund now, so that we can start to look at what are the outcomes, the outputs, and sit around that investment, that initial investment, to say, are we delivering positive outcome for that investment that we're putting in place? The proposals are to create sort of robust action plan with activity taken forward. And then what we'll do is we'll seek to bring back a report to future combined authority cabinet of the outcomes of those initial action plans and where we're targeting funding. One of the proposals that we're going to do is the commission that has overseen this. We'll continue to let that run in the background to try and hold to account the activity that was taking place, but that's not a decision-making board at all. The decision made on how to take community wealth building will continue to be one of cabinets. So we'll make sure that we bring back regular reports, probably 6 months later.
Yeah, thank you.
So a proposer for the recommendations and seconder. All those in favour? Thank you. Thank you, Andy. Item 10, the North Yorkshire Spatial Development Strategy update. Andrew Lehman, thank you.
Thank you. So the purpose of and sort of general overview on the report is to provide an update on recent developments in national policy and progress through Parliament of the legislation relevant to the spatial development strategies and its implications for us in York and North Yorkshire and the combined authority. It's quite a technical report in some ways, but I think it's important to set out some of those key steps that we will need to be taking to develop a spatial development strategy. It also provides a little bit of an update on the approach to date and the progress that we have made on developing this spatial strategy, particularly in conjunction with the 4 local planning authorities, that's the City of York Council, North Yorkshire Council, North York Moors National Park Authority and Yorkshire Dales National Park Authority. So some of the key points really is that the Planning and Infrastructure Act received royal assent on the 18th of December. That therefore places the duty on combined authorities to prepare a spatial development strategy for their area to support the delivery of sustainable growth. We've started to do very much. We started to look at this very much in the work of how it therefore links into the overall local plan process. And the English Devolution and Community Empowerment Act received royal assent on the 29th of April and includes new powers to ensure that the overall strategy and policies within this spatial development strategy are implemented. And this will include further planning duties that the combined authority and the mayor may take on. So the spatial development strategy in this context is critical in its development. The government's timescale for these plans is that they would like to see these developed across the country by the end of this parliament, so during 2029. At this stage, we're sort of suggesting that hours wouldn't be completed within sort of 2028, but we're just working with the 2 planning authorities at the moment to do it in conjunction with their local plan processes. So the report outlines some of the early tasks that we've developed so far. In particularly, we started to put a small planning team in place at the combined authority. We've got a joint officer group with the 4 local planning authorities to scope and develop this. We've got a joint agreement to develop a shared evidence base, which is already underway, and some of that evidence is starting to come through. So quite a lot of work today. This is all still subject to further regulations and guidance to come from government in the autumn. So it is proposed that once we've done some of the scoping and time frame, a further report will be brought back to the combined authority probably around October to set out next steps and progress to date. So the recommendations are very much to note the progress denotes the duty that the combined authority have, but also that we will bring a further report back as this plan gets progressed. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. And as we've touched on a few times, we're incredibly ambitious and eager to build the 60,000 homes in our region, create the space for more jobs and opportunities, and align all that in with an integrated transport system. And as you said there, Andrew, the responsibility is now from government to actually put this together will help us work out what all that looks like. across the region. I think it's probably also needs to be noted as well that as we develop the team to develop this spatial development plan, that we're working with both local authorities as well to look at what that capacity and resourcing looks like, and making sure we're not taking someone from Peter to pay for Paul and all this kind of stuff. So I think that's to be noted from both local authorities and us to explore what capacity looks like, because finding people with the expertise in this field is quite hard to come by. So just one to be noted. That's okay for members as well. Do members have any further comments or questions for Andrew on this? Councillor Douglas.
Thanks, Mayor. And I just wanted to welcome this. I think it's really important. It's important that we understand cross-boundary implications of our planning, and we can work together collectively on those issues that arise, and just look forward into the future from a planning perspective across the whole of York and North Yorkshire, which will be the first time that we've been able to do that, and across into both of the national parks. So I welcome this and do back up the challenges that you've just outlined around resource and making sure we've got the right people in the right place to do this work in a constructive way as a team approach, and welcome seeing it coming through. So thanks for bringing this forward.
Thank you, Councillor Douglas. Just come in there. Councillor Dad.
Yeah, I'm very supportive of this and what it seeks to achieve, but I think it'd be remiss of me not to express some concerns, not with this, but with the outlook. And if we're talking about planning, we're charged with producing a local plan as quickly as possible, that we all know will take some years to achieve, because there's a real detailed, bureaucratic, in many ways legal process to go through. And you do recognise that, Mr. Mayor, don't you, that a local plan does take some years to achieve. That feeds into a strategic plan. But more importantly, we can allocate land. We can do all the local plans we want. It's the ability to get properties in the ground and on the ground that is proof of the pudding, and there's challenges then. I know that we're trying to work through that with skills and all the rest of it. I suppose what I'm saying is it's right to have the ambition and the aspiration and the cross-boundary working. That's vital, but that isn't the end. I should say that isn't the biggest challenge in my view. It's having the skills in place to deliver them and willing developers to deliver them as well. So let's be absolutely clear with the public that this is not going to be easy.
Let's come in there. Claire,
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. And just to respond to that, York is just about to undertake a review of our local plan, and we have been given a 30-month time frame, and that's what we're working to, and we're absolutely determined that we're going to reach that. Developing local plans is changing and shifting, and we all have to respond and get on and do. So, you know, I speak from a perspective of experience. If I passed the first local plan that York has had for 70 years, and that is ridiculous, isn't it? It led to speculative development, etc., etc. It is not good for our communities. So I would urge North Yorkshire to get on and do it quicker than years and years, because it is really important for the people of our communities to do that. And then as far as bringing the sites forward, and essentially, you know, headwinds are difficult, aren't they? The macroeconomics are difficult. War, etc., unrest causes issues with investment. But I have to say the Labour government is really putting the facilities and opportunities in place for us to work collectively with organisations like Homes England. The Mayor is on the Strategic Planning Partnership. Is that the name of it, Mayor? a strategic place partnership that brings all of these organisations together to unleash these sites, to get us building. And even with the headwinds, Homes England, I have to say, is very determined that we are going to do this. So I actually feel quite optimistic about it, and I think the opportunity is there for the taking if you're willing to push forward. So I'm happy to talk further with my colleagues if they would like that.
Councillor Douglas. Councillor Daz.
Yeah, can I just ask Councillor Douglas, how many years did it take City of York Council to produce that first local plan from inception to ratification by an inspector?
Yeah, as I said, Councillor Dad, that it wasn't quick, and it was 2018 that it was submitted. So that is 7 years, but that's not the environment that we live in now. And our officers are tasked with doing it far more rapidly than that. And the process has been streamlined and changed in some respects in order to accommodate that. I just think, you know, we all live in a different world. So I don't use my previous experience as an example. What I'm looking to is the future of plan making, and we need to take that opportunity.
Just quickly for there, Mr. Mayor, I just don't want the public being under any misapprehension about the challenge that North Yorkshire Council is facing, given our housing targets and land we have to find for them. It's gone up from 1,300 from memory, somewhere in the first 1,000. It's more than tripled to 4,000 odd per year. Now that, to produce a local plan to satisfy that is a mountainous task. And coupled with the geography we've got and the numbers involved and the threats of legal challenge from those that have submitted land and don't get it approved or as preferred land, it is a whole different ball game from a review from City of York where they've seen their numbers actually fallen. So let's be clear. North Yorkshire, with its geographical landscape, is facing challenges that, you know, perhaps challenging.
More the reason to do it, because we need to be building the homes for our residents across the patch. So I'll propose this. Can we get a seconder on this? We're just going to move on, Bob.
I'm happy to second it, and seconding it, I just want to be clear that the housing numbers haven't gone down in York. That's erroneous. And the ultimate thing is this represents political will, doesn't it, to make it happen? And it is about having that political will to build the homes that our communities absolutely need and are crying out for. So yeah, happy to second.
Thank you. And all those in favour? Thank you. Item 11, governance matters. Rachel, please.
Mr. Mayor, first of all, I just wanted to refer members to the supplementary paper, which contains the track change copy of the proposals to the Constitution. The track changes did not show up on the original publication, therefore the supplement was published, which clearly sets out proposed amendments to the Constitution. This report covers 2 governance matters. First of all, the Independent Remuneration Panel and proposed amendments to the Constitution. First of all, in relation to the Independent Remuneration Panel, this paper proposes a review of existing allowances which are overdue in relation to the Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Independent Person, Independent Member. We had hoped to continue to use the previous model, which is 2 members from each local authority, but their resources unfortunately don't allow for that on this occasion. In relation to the proposed amendments to the Constitution, these are minor in nature, but they can be found in the supplementary paper at page 7. In essence, the proposals reflect the change of the PFC Directorate decision-making meeting from Executive Board to Strategic Oversight Board. This includes Police, Fire and Crime and Fire and Rescue. The Audit and Governance Committee have been consulted on the proposals and there have been no comments arising from this consultation. The recommendations can be found at page 5. In essence, they are to set up an IRP to review the existing allowances set out in paragraph 12.1.1, A review of the new allowances in light of the English Devolution and Community Empowerment Act 2026 is set out in 12.1.2. A review of travel and subsistence allowance for all combined authority members. Consideration of a payment of £500 based on the previous review of the IRP. Plus travel expenses. And finally, approval in respect of the amendments of the Constitution as per Appendix 1. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Rachel. Any comments or questions for Rachel on this? No? Happy? So as Rachel said there on page 5 of the supplementary report, isn't it? Proposer for this?
Proposed.
Seconder? And all those in favour? Thank you, Rachel. Item 12 is Paul Clark forward plan.
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing additional to add to the published version in the papers, only to clarify that the transport item that's scheduled for October's meeting has been changed slightly from the published version. There's now a new published version on the website. That's simply with a slight change of title and a slight change in the narrative. Otherwise, the broad scope of the decision is the same.
Thank you. Any questions for Paul on that, or are we happy just to note the forward plan? That's happy. Nodding of heads. Thank you, Paul. Item 13, urgent business. No urgent business, so end of meeting. Thank you. The next scheduled meeting is Friday the 11th of September at 10:30 back here at County Hall. Thank you very much, everyone.